Hello, I'm Morgan Pehme, Editor-in-Chief of City and State, and this is Last Look. Today we bring you an interview by City and State columnist Alexis, Grenell, and myself of Ignazio Marino, the new mayor of Rome, Italy. We recorded this interview at a reception co-hosted by Circolo PD and DL21C.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
You spent 20 years in America. What lessons from our government, or perhaps warnings from our government, did you take to your own mayoralty?
Well, the system in Italy and United States are very, very different from many points of view. For example, United States are possibly the richest country in the planet, and yet do not provide medical assistance to all the citizens. There are a number of citizens without health care in this country that the number is as large as almost the entire population of Italy. On the other hand, a good lesson that I took back from this country to my country is the fact that in general doesn't really is not important from where you come from, what is your last name, what is the color of your skin or your religion. If you are good at what you do, well, you will be supported and you will advance in the society and in your career. In Italy, this is much more problematic, and you know, the culture of giving the right prize to whoever is making all the efforts to succeed is not so straightforward as it is in this country. So, you know, there are good things here and good things on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean.
Mayor Bloomberg has made a lot of bold health initiatives that have crossed the ocean, such as the smoking ban that has really taken hold in Europe as well. Given your background as a physician, are there any bold health initiatives that you are going to try to enact in Rome?
Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but the ban on smoking in public place, like the one that we are here tonight, started in Italy before it started in New York City. In the year 2002, a law has been passed in our country, and it was really a revolutionary law because smoking has been prohibited for any indoor places. Obviously, Mr. Bloomberg did more about that. He made a number of decisions in healthcare or issues that are related to healthcare, like nutrition, which I believe were very bold, but also very, very good. I'm looking at the change that will happen in this town with a new mayor with a lot of interest, because I could say that this town grew tremendously from the economic point of view during the tenure of Mr. Bloomberg. But as I was landing in New York City today, I was shocked by reading on the front page of the New York Times that in this town, in New York City, there are 22,000 kids homeless. Obviously, this is a huge problem and needs an answer.
One of the interesting things you mentioned is that you spent only $52,000 on your campaign compared to your opponents $500,000 in New York City. We of course have a mayor who's a billionaire, and the most recent mayoral election cost multiple millions of dollars. Of course, Italy's prime minister formerly was also a billionaire. I'm curious, as somebody who entered politics outside of it and obviously did not have any massive personal wealth, what you think the role of money in politics is in Italy, but also looking at the United States, where we spend I mean, it's unheard of that a mayor could get elected on $52,000.
32,000, I believe, right?
52.
No, 32,000.
Unheard
no,
of.
Well,
tuition for a private school costs more.
$32,000 was the cost of the primaries.
Right.
Then, when I ran for the real game, the amount of money was about $350,000, which was much less than the millionary budget of my main opponents. But I think, you know, what we decided to do is was to use mainly, social network, internet, this kind of communication. And a lot of people thought that that was going to be a losing choice. Instead, I think a lot of people today look at this social network more than a newspaper or other media. I guess if you ask to a teenager what is going on, what are the main news in his or her country today, I'm pretty sure that that teenager will be able to answer the question, but she or he did not read any newspaper and probably did not watch any news on TV, but they learn whatever you need to learn through other means.
On that note, I notice you make good use of Twitter, and that you have a hashtag, Open Campidoglio. There seems to be an effort on your part to kind of counteract the corruption that has characterized so much of Italian politics. Can you speak more about that effort and the intentionality you seem to display about transparency and why that's important?
I can give you a practical example. I just approved the budget less than a week ago. And for the first time ever, during the last discussion in front of the floor, we decided not to accept any amendments where money were given directly through the constituency of a single politician elected in the General Assembly. This was the first time ever. Usually, in order to get your majority to vote or the opposition to not be too aggressive, the system that was used was at the last day or the last 2 or 3 days to have an amount of money that you distribute to, to the different politicians in different parties that they could use with their constituency. I say, look, I'm ready to go home if we do this, and we were able not to do that.
There have been a number of articles, particularly in the New York Times, that have kind of portrayed the mood in Italy right now as if there's a melancholy hanging over the country, maybe a malaise. And when I visited Rome for the first time this summer, and that wasn't necessarily my impression. And you've said that it's kind of a controlled emergency in Rome. And I'm wondering, is that accurate? I mean, what is your sense of the people? Is there optimism or is there pessimism?
Unfortunately, there is a significant amount of pessimism, and this is bad. But we had for 20 years a cultural shift with the fact that Mr. Berlusconi was, in a way or the other, one of the major leaders in the country for almost 20 years, it changed tremendously the culture and the attitude of people. When I was a kid or a teenager, my dream was to become a transplant surgeon. Many girls and boys wanted to study, to become really good in one field. With 20 years of Berlusconi's, a lot of people thought that it doesn't really matter how much you commit yourself to something. It's more important who do you know and who could help you in getting a position. And obviously this will be the most important challenge in the next 10, 15 years. We need to erase that kind of culture and going back to a culture where whoever deserves the credit actually gets it.
It seems like you are trying to change the culture just through your actions. Like, for instance, you are taking a bicycle to promote kind of maybe a greener approach to transportation, and you're talking about closing down to make a pedestrian plaza, the Via dei Fori Imperiali. And I was wondering if that's been a big movement here in New York too, with our transportation commissioner Janet Sadik-Khan. Have you looked at other cities as a model for that?
Well, I looked. Obviously, the only thing that I know how to do is to study. So I studied a lot different models, and for example, my friend Bertrand Delanoë, the mayor of Paris, in the last 10 years changed completely the way of managing transportation in Paris. Right now he has 24,000 public bikes, and every single day 150,000 people ride on one of these bikes in Paris. This changed tremendously the traffic and all the problems related to traffic in Paris. I bike every day, going to work and going to the other meetings. I jog with the people working with me, because usually I get on time and they get to the appointment late because they drive a car. But I also wanted to, from the very beginning, to establish a new style, and I'm the first mayor of Rome that does not have an escort, does not have a car with police following me. I go around in the town like any other citizen, and I think this is perceived well by the population.
Speaking about transportation, Rome obviously faces unique challenges building a metro system. It's impossible to dig in Rome and not hit antiquity. And you spoke about that as well. Is creating a bike system part of your alternative plan to increase transportation options for Romans, and do you anticipate that it will be sufficient?
Well, it will not be sufficient. We are starting on January 2004 with a car sharing program, and hopefully we will be able to have most of the car for the car sharing powered by electrical engine, so this will be good for the pollution, which is another big problem in Rome. The metro will continue, but obviously, as you said, Rome is very different from any other town in the planet. Wherever you dig, you will find antiquity, so you cannot expect to have the same subway in Rome as you have in Paris, London, or New York.
We've read a lot of articles in the American media that Italy is excited about the election of Mayor de Blasio. Is that media hype, or is there actual attention to Mayor de Blasio being elected?
No, there is a lot of attention. There was a lot of attention during the entire campaign, and I think what we discussed before about the 22,000 kids homeless in New York is part of the issue. New York is a very rich town, but a rich town should take care also of the poor people.
And I know you're meeting with Mayor Bloomberg while you're here. Do you intend to meet with Mayor-elect de Blasio as well?
I did ask for a meeting with Bill de Blasio, but at the present time, I understand he doesn't want to meet anybody because he's, working as hard as possible, in order to get settled in the government.
You mentioned how important it is to take care of the poor, and obviously we have a problem in New York City. You obviously are aware that Mayor de Blasio-elect's main plank of his campaign was raising taxes on the wealthiest 1%. We anticipate a certain level of obstinance from the state government where another Italian-American is in charge, Andrew Cuomo. I'm curious, you've mentioned before that it's important to raise taxes to take care of the poverty problem in Europe. Why? Let me ask it this way. Does it disturb you that there's resistance in New York to raising taxes on the richest 1% in a country which, as you put it, is possibly the richest in the world, and so much wealth is concentrated here?
Well, obviously, is a question that you can answer in many different ways. I have been a citizen in this country. I was the director of a transplant institute. I had a good salary, and I paid a significant amount of taxes. I really believe in a social system where if you have more money, you should pay more taxes in order to provide kids who are below the line of poverty to have the right education and to compete in the society. If you don't invest in your kids, poor or rich, you are not investing in the future of the society.
Mr. Mayor, on a much lighter note, I understand you're a great fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. What is your favorite Schwarzenegger movie?
Well, Terminator 1.
Oh man, I would have went with Total Recall. And lastly, I know this is a very sensitive subject for you, but what do you think are Roma Scudetto chances?
Well, I'm not going to discuss about that because people in Rome doesn't like to discuss about the Scudetto's chances.
Well, we wish you best of luck in the Scudetto, and we wish you best of luck with your mayoralty. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.